In the last session, I wrote down some notes about things to do, including handling joining and leaving a space separately than joining a space channel. And some of this might be a little bit confusing, so right now might be a good time to drop some diagrams. One of my favorite diagramming tool is web sequence diagram, because you can use text to describe a sequence diagram, and then it just creates this nice graphic for you. So let's say that this is the XR initialization sequence. So what happens here first? Let's trace through from the controller. Let's show this controller. Well, let's start with a request or a user. Okay, so what are the layers we want? We want to go. We're going to go into the internals maybe. So I think we're going to start with the different layers. Should it be browser? Everything happens in the browser, so not browser, but let me just throw down some layers. Controller is definitely one of them. Controller. And some of these. All right. Who makes a question code? It goes from router to controller. Router to controller. And I need a note over this, right? Like this. Router to controller. And so here we can say here's a note. So load space from database. User to the router. That's the URL for space, and the I guess this just routes request, and then note over controller can be you're doing get space by slug. So this is kind of like the slug. Okay, so user visits a URL /slug for a space, goes to the router, and routes request to the space controller. Can we add a space here? Space controller. Yeah, space controller. Okay, so it gets space by the slug, and it also does what? Starts gen server, starts space server, if not started. I'll put that in parentheses. So it's started as necessary. And then we load the view, right? So the controller is going to load a view, with the template. So, okay, so space controller to view. It's going to serialize space and okay, so note over view is we're going to um, initialize the orchestrator. Okay. And we're also going to let's take a look at some of the code. So following that, we have the space controller. This thing loads the view. Here's the template, giving it some pieces, and then it nudges that. And then in show HTML, which is here, we load some background, we put some things over here. But more importantly, this loads a particular layout, XR root. So note over view, load XR root layout. So if we take a look at XR root layout, this loads Babylon and Agora libraries. It also loads our app, which is this sucker here, app.js. Load external libs and app.js. So if we look at app.js, this thing, okay, that doesn't do anything. No, it's not app.js. It is not just app.js. It is orchestrator.js. So we don't really need to mention this one. This is just bringing in the previous behavior that's on every page, which is, I guess, Phoenix Live View. So we bring in orchestrator load and init orchestrator.js. So orchestrator here, I guess we can remove some of these. These don't look like they're used. This will initialize the Svelte app right here, and it will actually bootstrap itself. So bootstrap and start it, and in starting it, it runs a scene manager, creates the scene. So let's see, it creates a log manager, bunch of stuff. Space broker, RTC. So it loads managers. So let's break this out. Let's see. So yeah, sure. So maybe let's go from view to orchestrator. So we'll load in init. Orchestrator initializes svelte. Svelte components, I guess. And it also, let's see, note over orchestrator. Is it like loads managers? And then what? So it creates these managers, and then it waits, it presents this app. So if you look at this app, go to app.svelte, we present a welcome component. So maybe we, if these are trivial, maybe we can just remove some of this. Or maybe let's just keep going. So, okay, so we have this. We go welcome component. Okay, so note over all components, show welcome. And then if you click join, so what does that do? That sends a signal to a signal hub, right? So svelte components to signal hub joined. And if you say you're joined, you're doing this is you're sending a message where you're emitting joined, and then I think scene manager, no, space broker listens for that, and then it connects to the channel. So we have a signal hub to space broker, and we're listening for joined as well, and space broker will send something to the space channel, and will be push, well, we'll do join the channel. Okay, this is getting really small here. So some of these are obvious. These up to the view. I think let's remove these. Okay. Orchestrators, all components. You say show the welcome, then you joined, and then it's picked up by space broker, listening that you joined, and then it sends to the space channel where you actually join the channel. And then that causes stuff in the Phoenix presence will send a message back to the space broker. You go from the space channel back to space broker of the Phoenix the presence state presence diff. So you'll get some of that stuff. Now we could use that for determining like whether you've joined a room. The fact is you've joined the channel, which is the bare minimum. So we could combine the fact that and also we're going to get present state and presence diff popping in and out for every connection and disconnection, and it's happening automatically despite just based on the network connection, not really based on what the user is wanting to do. On the other hand, if somebody does get terminated because of their network connection, shouldn't it also generate a left, like member left event? Join is what you call joining a space channel. But I think member join is deliberate entering the space. So I think we could say that the space broker would send a message directly through to a space server. I guess we still go through the channel. You could say member join. And then space channel could go to space server. All of these are kind of where does it send this? So you say are you sending a member join? Maybe what you could send here is so you need a message and a payload. I'm trying to determine whether the message is command, or do you, because then you could have, you'll, for every kind of message, you will have to add another handler, another function head. Which I think what we said here is that you're going to channel push a command, a folder of interfaces, not a folder, a file. And if we look at the types, this is a file. So is this part of the tuple the message and this is the payload? Or is it the message is command and the payload contains name, command name, member join with payload. because then you would just have space channel handle that with a single handler, and then you have other function heads inside the command handler, which is this thing. Which could just handle something like this. Command name. I really could go either way. You could just give it a list and then change those to tuples. So I haven't finished defining what the message is. So you get some kind of member join command. So once you receive that, you will so we'll send a note over the space channel. Or should the gen server handle the commands? Yeah, the gen server has to handle it because it's the only thing that can get the event sequence out. So if we do this, we need a sequence. So this thing has to send it to this thing can transform this into a intermediate format, but then you have to send the rest of it into the gen server to get the sequence number and the timestamp. So then we need to send it to member joined to the space server process event. So space server as a process event, in which case we are handling the cast of it, which helps us store it and broadcast it. So here, space server going back to space broker will broadcast to channel. And then we will, as a separate process, like note over space a server is broadcast, or sorry, persist events to disk through some other process. Okay. So we have to figure out this thing. What emits this event? Okay, we'll figure that out next time.